Well, hello, everyone. Let's see here. My computer is set up a little funky. So I'll get my YouTube muted out over here so I can see what's going on. And it's raining. It's raining and boring. Raining and boring. And thundering. Probably zapped my whole computer. Yeah, I know. We can all hear you live. Waiting on people. Everybody's probably got a life and out there in the rain firing fireworks. Hey, guys. Yeah, it's rainy here. Not much happening, so I figured I would come on here and see if anybody wanted to chat tonight and, hang out. I've been doing some lasering and signs and all kinds of crazy stuff. So let me see what we got today. A couple things I worked on. I was playing around, so I did a Ford logo tumble. I know there's some people watching. Say hey, so I know who's here. I can talk to you. And then this was one that I was commissioned to do for somebody. Hey, Lee. So this one, I had to order some mugs because I got this one coming in. Someone ordered a case of these. 34 days. It was hot today, but it's raining right now. It's pouring. So, just been hanging out. I didn't even talk to Lee today. I didn't know if I figured this is about Lee's bedtime normally, so I didn't know if Lee would come on tonight or not. But hey, I guess nobody can get in if I don't share the link, right? Let me copy that. Post. Paste. There we go. Sorry. We'll paste that in there. Man, the rain's coming down outside and thundering. There you go. So it should be pinned. Lee, if you want to come in, come on in, man. I just thought you might be knocked out right now, sleep something. But I've been I got you. No worries. Well, someone jump in. Heck, jump in for a minute or something. Tell us what you did today. I've been working on this for James Knoll. I got to sand it, but it's for James Knoll. Nice little J&D's highs ripened pure raw honey sign. So I got to sand it down and give it a spray. So laser stuff, and with the weather the way it's been, I can't really do too much bee stuff. I can't even get out and sell honey. It's a kind of crazy, but see, these are the kind of chats that when nobody comes in are really short. Really short, because I'm just talking to a box, and I know Lee's here and Josh. Hey, Josh, sorry. I didn't mean to miss you. It is monsoon outside right now. It says 80 degrees, but I'm showing thunderstorms Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then next Monday, it's only going to be partly cloudy. But yeah, all week. So I'm glad I fed them. I'm glad I put feed out there the other day, a bunch of it, for them to hit. They'll have some food. In the meanwhile, But I saw Fermana put out a new video. Dry Cut put out a new video. Lee put out a video, I think, earlier. Let me see. I'll go down my list here. Little Bits Honeybees put out one hour ago. Dry Cut put one out an hour ago. Haven't watched them yet. I'm just going through my Hillbilly Beekeeping. Earl put out a video 2 hours ago. And then 3 hours ago, I saw where Phil posted if I was watching his video. I watched his video yesterday. I said, you got to say something, Earl. Phil, you can't just sit there like I'm doing right now, sitting here talking to myself because nobody's coming in. But yes, so things are going pretty good with the laser. When I say pretty good, I mean I haven't killed anything. I mean I haven't done a lot of sales, but I sold a bullet to my nephew. I got to get that out. I got this sign that I'm finishing up for James Knoll. And then I've got a case of those black tumblers coming in for B-Bum, wherever, there it is. Oh, back here. Of these that I got to do and get out. These are Ozark Trail because I just did one as a sample so you could see how it would look. But yep, so got those to go out. So it's almost I'm almost break even, getting close on the good old laser. Guess nobody wants to talk tonight. He just wants to sit back and watch me struggle tonight and not come in and chat with me. So I guess this will be a short live, guys. Is anybody doing anything interesting with their bees? Anybody? Bueller, Ferris Bueller. I talked to Mike from Coon Lake yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. Today has been pretty much a wash, just working with the laser. But I imagine a lot of people are doing cookouts and stuff with their family. My daughter's not coming till next week. So cleaning your last slime out. I haven't been in them. I have not been in it. I was outside yesterday with a couple guys from the church that stopped by. And I talked to them. And while I was out talking to them, someone stopped and bought honey. And they're talking about buying bees from me. So, don't know. Don't know what's happening. But, I mean, I did pop in one little 5-framer. It looks good. I'm trying to let it get, like, almost overpacked in that 5-frame. And then I'm going to move it to a 10-framer. But right now, I haven't been doing much. And honestly, I want to go out there and blast through all of them, but I can't because I just don't. I mean, first of all, it was still, even with the threat of rain, it didn't start raining until later on this evening. But by the time I do all of my, yeah, see, that's what I want to do. I want to go out there and pull some more honey, Lee, but I can't. I guess I could just start going through a few boxes at a time and doing it that way. Lee, hop in here. If you're going to chat with me, might as well chat on camera. And you know, get some more honey pulled, get it spun out. Really, so I can get a lot of this stuff cleaned up, right? Just get it put away. And see how it goes. So, oh, you know what? This, just to let you know, this sign was pretty much done from a photograph that was sent to me. And then I just basically recreated their honey label on a sign. So the this JD's was somewhere else on the logo. It was actually down at the bottom, but the rest of this was pretty much like their honey label. Hey, there's Charlie. Great. Charlie, this was I just heard Dudley Do Right when you came on.
Dudley Do Right.
Yeah, here I come to save the day. Or was that Mighty Mouse?
Oh, I don't know.
Man, sitting there talking to yourself on a live is like really brutal.
Yeah, I thought I'd help you out.
Yeah, good deal. So how's things going for you?
All right, I've been extracting honey here for the last week or so. I'm up to 500 pounds.
Oh, nice.
So I got about, I think, 15 more boxes, but I'll say a good portion of them are about half full. They're like the last supers that I put on. So if I get, let's say, 200 to 300 pounds, I think I'll be good.
Are you going to now? You're going to store those in a 55-gallon drum, or how are you doing it?
No, I do 5-gallon buckets.
5 gallons, and I figure. Well, I don't know how much more honey I'm going to pull this year. Just I don't know what they've done, right? So that's the main thing. I haven't been able to get in them for the last 10 days because it's been rain off and on.
Yeah, it's been doing the same thing here, raining and everything, and
we got another 8 days of rain. It's not calling for even partly cloudy till next Monday. Right now, it's supposed to be thunderstorms, PM thunderstorms. I mean, I might be able to squeeze something there in the morning, but then it's still wet, so wet outside and everything. And when the heat hits, all that moisture starts going in the air, and it's just muggy. So
it was supposed to rain here over the Saturday and Sunday, and it hasn't. It turned out it did rain, I think, Saturday night for an hour or so, and then after that, today was a nice day. Saturday all day pretty much was pretty clear. And Monday is supposed to be good, and I think the rest of the week it's supposed to rain.
Well, hope that. Like it does say, like scattered thunderstorms, so it might still miss us, but it could be just that gray nasty where the bees are still confused about it. So you don't know, but I do need to go in there and start. My thing is, this will be the first year that I've had to worry about pushing too many bees down into the boxes. Like in a few of my colonies that are really packed, when I start taking this honey off and condensing them down.
I had one hive out there that somehow the queen got above the queen excluder, and it was full of brood. And I did take a honey super off the top of it, but there was the 2 boxes below were just packed full of brood. And I haven't found her yet, but what I had, the way my setup is, I got 10 honey hives, and I was thinking about adding 2 more. And right. I have enough room on racks and stuff that I can put 20 nukes. And I was running anywhere from 24 to the last winter. I went in the winter for like 27 nukes. And I'm like, it's just me, and it's like, it's getting a little bit much.
Well, see, that's like even where I'm at right now with as many as I've got.
Mm-hmm.
And it may just be the weather, Charlie, because what I was doing before is I would do, like I can do the 2 framers really quick, like an hour or so, no problem there. It's the out yard, and then the
drive into the out yard. It takes so much time to do all that,
And then if you forgot something, you got to drive home and bring it the next time out. But with the amount of
if you got a pickup truck, then you got in order to quote not forget, something, or you might need it, but you don't know whether you're going to need it.
Load everything in the
Sit
truck.
there and spend all that time loading up the truck for bear, and then get there. Well, I didn't need 3/4 of what I spent the time on loading. Then you got to unload when you get back or whatever. And it's what a pain.
So I mean, that's my thing is I need to go through these colonies. Some of them, I mean, I'm just trying the smaller ones. I'm just trying to get to fill their boxes. I did do a 2/2 in one of my two framers.
How's that working out?
Well, after I did it, I haven't been back out there to see. I mean, because they were working on both frames. So I left one frame in the bottom, and right over it is an empty. And then on the other side of it is the other drawn one, and underneath it is an empty. So hopefully on those 4 up. And oh yeah, sure. James, this was for James. And I know you're going to say about that dark, but that's actually the grain of the wood is dark right there. Oh. But yeah, James Knoll wanted me to make this for him. So yeah, I sent you an email. Did you want me to add color to the lettering and all? That's what I would need to know, because if I need to do that, then I got to do it before I sand it.
What kind of wood is that?
Maple.
So maple. So it's got a that's the dark heart is what that is.
Yeah, and when the laser hits it, it makes it really dark. But there is a skep. There actually is a skep hive in there, and some flower background. You just
the next time you'll have to take and you'll have to make sure that's all white sapwood in order for it to make a pretty looking plaque and no two tones or whatever. That's just stuff that you have to learn.
Well, with this, I find that I prefer the natural wood look myself, but some people like a little bit of pop. With the color will make that pop off of there.
Yeah.
But I've already sealed it, so now if I'm going to color it, I need to color it now. So when I go back and re-sand it, it'll give a real nice finish on the letters, and the letters will be nicely filled in and then clear over it.
And it's where are they from? What's that? Michigan?
Michigan, yeah, Michigan.
Okay.
And then I did I keep moving it. What did I do with it now? Oh, so I was commissioned to do a case of these.
That's cool. So
that's another apiary. So, and then I sold a bullet. So a case of those 24 mugs.
There you go.
Case of those are 24, so 24 mugs. And then I had this one that was a tester mug that I actually just spray painted and put the Ford emblem on. So that one I need to clean up better. I didn't scrub it afterwards like I'm supposed to. But yep, just put the Ford logo on it. It's another keeper. But yeah, I mean, so it's going pretty good with the stuff. The bullets, I sold a couple bullets.
Yeah, I was like, the nukes behind me there. I went through them, like you say, 2 framers, and there's a bunch of queens in there. I got one guy, I seen an email here. I didn't get back to him, but he wanted a queen, and I had another.
So that's where you sell your queens from, right? Your 2 framers. You go grab the queen, cage her up. Here you go.
Yeah.
And good to go.
I had another guy call me, one of my members in my club, and he thought his hive was queenless, but he said he had put 2 mated queens and they were killed. I'm like, well, that's telling me there's a queen in there. And right. Sure enough, went down there Friday, and we went through the hive, and I said, well, there she is right there. Well, he said, well, she ain't marked. I said, no, she's not marked. She was.
They don't mark themselves. Hold on, let me go by the paint shop and get a dot on my back for you.
I said, it ain't the one that you put in. I said, and it was under some trees, really dark. I went out in the yard where finally the sun poked through and I could see. And I said, she's just started to lay. There's some eggs, about they're starting to lay over, about on an angle like
Right,
that.
like second day stuff.
And I'd say it's 2-day-old egg or something. That I said, give her a month and she'll be fine. So, but on that hive that I found or have the queen above the excluder, I didn't know whether it was a 2-queen hive type of thing. And
Right.
so anyway, I wanted to take the rack that had nukes on it that was next to the honey hives. I said I wanted to put 2 honey hives on that rack and then do away with the nukes on that one rack. So anyway, I set up a 10 frame. I just transferred those bees and brood and everything over there. And then I got into the bottom of the other 2 mediums that were broodless. And they were all broodless. There wasn't a queen down there. And so I left it queenless for a couple of days and got to thinking about it. I said, well, I got those nukes there. I run like the highs right behind me there. You'll see the one purple is taller than the other. Well, that's the deep frames, and the other ones I run also mediums. I got to thinking about it. So I got a queen there. I think it hasn't started laying yet or whatever, but I said I'll just take those 2 frames and make sure that she's in the middle of the 2 frames, like sandwich her. Can you hear me, Bob? And just drop her in that hive and let her take over without actually going through introduction. You got technical difficulties, Bob? Can't hear you. Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Now you can.
I can't hear you. Hold on. So for some reason we had thunder happen, and then all of a sudden my
can you hear me?
Audio mic should be the webcam. Speakers should be there.
1, 2.
Yeah, just let me know if it starts like feeding back, like you can hear an echo.
All right, I got the other thing shut down like we normally do.
Yeah, so I heard thunder, and all of a sudden it said my headset went dead. So I don't know if somehow I got zapped or not, or my mic, because my headset actually plugs into my mic. So for some reason I heard thunder and it was done. So we'll have to experience that after the fact. Oh, James lost a swarm today. That sucks. But I've probably lost swarms. I don't know. It doesn't look like it right now. I know I've got one hanging on the tree. That's the closest one to being lost that I know of. And then I've got the one that I caught that's in the double 5 frame, that they're pretty much just in the top of that. They haven't really done anything with the frames below it. Look at Lee. Lee, you dog, you. What are you doing, Lee? Well, thank you.
Explain to me, where does that money go?
It goes to, at this point, it goes to my YouTube. So, you got to have $100 before it'll even cash you out anything. Right. So if you're on YouTube and you're putting out content, that goes to my YouTube account. So once I cash out, that'll all get deposited. But look at Lee chucking the money around. That's the first time I've seen him. Well, hey, I think this is not the stream team, Lee. That's the only place I've seen you throw stream team money at. But I appreciate it, brother.
This is better than the stream team.
Oh, they might be watching. No, I'm just kidding. I like the way we have it. Where we just hang out and can talk whatever we want to talk.
What I like about it is anybody can come on.
We could talk about my bullet tumblers.
I seen that there a couple nights ago. I'd have got on, but I just, I was just too, I had supers of honey I went out there and pulled 12 supers off, and, I wanted to get it done before there was any problems about either wax moths, eggs, or.
I haven't even pulled 12 supers out of my yard.
Yeah. My biggest problem is now is what's left on there isn't totally capped, or let's say 90% capped. It's a lot of open.
And that's how mine was the last time I went in there. There was a lot of open, but with the shake test, it wasn't coming out.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? It's only me. I pulled out enough, and then
I got my fractometer out and I tested a couple times. The first test was 16 and a half, which was good. And the other one was like around 17. And I believe it's, what is it? 18 and a half or 17
and a half is like
the limit.
A is what the FDA or I don't know, agriculture department or somebody, whoever rates that.
I'm good, but everything that I have uncapped has either been 100% capped or 90% capped.
Right.
Or you might have had a few frames in there that might have been a little bit, let's say 80 or 50% capped or something like that, but not that many.
Yeah, my first pull was 16 and a half. So,
it's been nice light honey. That's one thing I have done. I got that new bottling tank, which I haven't put in service yet because I'm using the scissors lift with my
How do you like that?
Tank. Huh?
How do you like that scissor lift?
Oh, yeah. Well, see, I used it. My brother had one here that it would leak down from Harbor Freight, and this one here is from Harbor Freight. But you can raise that capping tank up to where you're not bending over and knocking your back out or whatever. And you can do some, and uncap and then it's nice to just roll around. You can roll it out of the way. So you keep. I'm on my back porch. I got to have a pathway for people to walk in and out.
Right.
So you can move it out of the way, and which is nice. And then once I get this year's honey extracted all, then I will put my bottling tank on it. That's why I bought it. So I can lower it down low, fill it. Then when I'm ready to bottle, I can raise it up to a working level and just sit there and fill,
Now that also pulls like a roller, right? So you can roll it.
Yeah, it's got a handlebar on the back end that you can just move around. You can move that thing around, but once that, you figure you put in, you have a couple 100 pounds of honey in there at least. This thing will hold 300 pounds of honey plus the water. You're going to have somewhere around, let's say, 8 gallons of water in that thing.
Oh yeah, the water. What size tank did you end up getting?
25 gallon.
Oh yeah, that's bigger than mine.
I'm one size bigger than Lee's. Lee's is a 16 gallon. That's the smallest one.
Yeah,
and then I got this 25, and I was on the fence about it, but I got lucky and last year put in for a grant through my local agricultural department, and they pretty much paid for half of it. So it's like, okay, well, I'll get the bigger one if you're going to pay for half of it.
Yeah, right.
What I wound up paying like $900 or something like that.
I thought I was going to get rid of my little tiny extractor, the one that I had. But then
is it electric?
It is electric.
Yeah. I don't. That's one thing I do not understand why anybody would buy a hand cranked extractor. You can't. You just when I'm extracting, I'll uncap and load the 18 frame extractor, and then it'll be. Some people say they'll spin for 10 minutes. I said, well, I'll go over there and turn it on it's got a graduation variable speed. It goes from 0 to 100. You'll never go to 100. You'll go to
50.
If it's balanced very well and not and you're trying to really sling it out completely, about 70.
But I find even if you do it on slower, you just have to let it go a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
what I was getting at is I go over there, put it at 40%, as I call it, and it's a medium slow speed, but that's when you first start out. Let it sling all, it's spitting it out there really good, and let it sling it out and get that those frames equalized as far as the weight goes. And then, you go back and about, while it's doing that, I'm doing some other things. We're taking a break.
right.
And
Well, I try to do it by the math, right? So what are those 2 or 3 frames mostly, the hand crank ones? So one box, if you've got, let's say you got 5 hives and you just pull one super, that's 50 boxes. You will be there for a year. You'll be there till next honey season spinning those frames out. And I wanted no part of that. So I got a little 8 medium 4 frame Chinese made one off of eBay for a couple $100. And my thing was, if I don't have 30 frames, there's no need to mess the big extractor up. If I'm only pulling a few frames of honey, I could go ahead and still spin those in the small extractor.
how big is that small one? 6 frames?
No, it's a 8 and 4.
Yeah, that's what I think. See, what was it? I had a Maxent 3000 something or other, the electric one, and I bought it. I bought all this stuff. The guy was going out of the business. So he was sick. He was dying, really.
Right.
And he had a Maxent extractor and a honey plane and hot knives and different things. And so I bought it. And I think it was a 6 frame or 8 frame, whatever it was. Whatever. They still sell the same thing. The only thing is the basket, the newer ones have a better basket in it.
Right.
They say they're sort of radial, but they're not really. And sting the like button. And
I got to sting the like button here. Let's see. That gives us 9.
That's what he says. So anyway, I sold it, but it was an okay machine. And then I went from 6 or 8 to 18. And if I had to do it all over again, I think I would have bought one of them licensed like yours at a 20 frame.
Oh, I got the 30 frame.
But you got the room where you can leave it there.
But I was looking. This brought up a topic of conversation the other night about the like the Hilco one that everybody's jumping on.
I watched Mike Barry's unboxing.
Right.
And I have to say the Hilco's been saying what I've been saying. Why don't they fix it to where it drains from the backside around to the spout?
Right, right.
And then he showed in there where there's a it's what do you call it? Node where it goes in the spout and out.
My got a nice conical on it, but I did, even the first time, I have a piece of 2x4 that after I spun the honey out and let as much drain out as I could, I did end up tilting it forward and putting that 2x4 just to give it that gravity drain down to the front a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I still had to do that. I mean, so I guess it's not perfect, but I mean, it works really well. But for the price, I think it was, let me see if I can pull it up over here.
Yeah, but the other thing that I have, the Hilco was at La Hive Life, and I really didn't. Of course, I wasn't interested in buying an extractor. I already got one,
right?
And I didn't really, investigate it, closely like what I seen on Mike Barry's thing, which I like all those features he showed. The only thing that
Now he got the mini Mac, or which one did he get? The 18 framer?
He got the 18 framer.
So
I had the extractor that Mike has, the old Max Anthony has. That's the one I started out with.
So the 18 frame is $1,259, and the only
That's a Hilco.
the Hilco. The only thing I don't care for about it, the only thing I prefer about the Lyson over this one, is that all the controls and everything are underneath. The motor and everything's underneath the Lyson.
Yeah.
So the top is free. I can get all the way in it. I don't know that it makes a huge difference. Well,
the only thing that the basket on that, is it plastic? Some kind of fiber, the round part of it? Or is it steel?
Be honest with you, it looks plastic to me.
Yeah, because Barry was out there at his shop, and they were showing the disassembled units, and they were putting them together. And he said the wheels that where the stuff sits on, it wasn't. He didn't call it plastic. He called it fiberglass or something of that
nature, or something. I don't know.
Poly, whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'll take your Lyson. I know has really, really nice steel baskets, and it's cut out to where those frames fit in there really nice and snug from what I can see of it. And then I know of two people in my club that has 220 framers that has each have a 20 framer.
A Lyson?
Yeah, Lyson. And the Lyson's on the bottom end where you say the motor is, it's got that crossbar goes from the bars go from the leg to leg, which that gives more stability and everything.
And they say if the belt breaks on the bottom, you can just go to AutoZone or Advance and get a new belt to put underneath it. So, I don't know. I mean, obviously it's got its place. People are buying it.
Well, when it comes to belt, Max Ant uses a belt thing too. That's on top.
They offer I think 4-year warranty is what they were saying.
What's that? Hilco?
Oh yeah. Now this is going to sound bad, but trust me, I'm not trying to talk bad about Hilco, but the fact of the matter is they haven't even been around 4 years yet. So how do you know in 4 years that they'll even be around to warrant? Now, I hope they are, but how do you know they'll even be around to warranty this gear in 4 years? You don't.
Well, number one is, where did the Chinese build this thing or what?
Well, it says it's what they say is it is engineered and manufactured here in the States. Or it says engineered and assembled in the States.
They're assembled, but it ain't made here, and guarantee you that.
No, I can't make that claim either on the Lyson, but Lyson's been around for years and years and years.
Yeah, but if you go on a licensed webpage, they are a huge honey company in Poland. They're huge. Yeah. I mean, they're a major factory, and they don't just do extractors. They do products that we don't even have in this country yet.
Well, these are really priced very similar to the Lyson.
That Lyson, I think I looked up on Better Be, a 20 framer is $1,200.
Yeah, so I got my 30 framer for like $19. Now,
$600 difference.
Hilco has a 32 frame for $22. Now the difference is the shipping, right? So if I pay $19 for the Lyson, I have to pay for shipping. If I pay $22 for the Hilco, that's including shipping by their website.
So where are they located? In Minnesota or someplace? Or
Let me see. About us. Yeah, Illinois. Minonk, Illinois. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
The fella down there at the bottom, I can't pronounce his name. Lama.
Eli.
Okay, you're better educated than I am. Anyway, what's the you're on Facebook?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, bro. I've just been busy. I've been doing working. He's one of my crypto friends. I've been doing a lot of work with my laser and beekeeping and everything this time of year. So I've just been busy. Now, what I do like about this, like that Mini Max that a lot of people are buying, the 859, the one that the Stream Team's giving away. I like the way that the leg.
How many frames is that?
It says 9-frame radial, but I believe it only does 4 deep tangentially.
I seen one down there at Hive Lab. I think it was Hilco, and it had in the basket. It wasn't normal. It was like these square boxes or something in there.
Oh, I know Lyson makes one of those that, and I've seen it on
like a square cage or something, or a
Black Mountain Honey. What it does is the motor, when the motor runs, they twist to sling the honey out of one side, and then you reverse it, and it's spring loaded and it flips the other way, so the motor can go both directions, but you still have to spin it twice. Once each.
Yeah, that don't make sense to me. Why would you want to buy that?
I don't know. I was wondering why they don't make if you're going to do something like this, where it's got to go tangentially, why don't you make a cage box that
I believe that's what
that you can plug your capping.
You got to stick those bars in there or something.
I don't know why that's in there like that. That's deep frames, right? That looks like a 9 and 3. That's 9 frames, I guess 3 deeps at a time.
That's like Brian up at Castle there. He bought, what was it, a 10 framer or something like that?
I think he got that one.
And I'm like, yeah, Brian, what are you doing? You know.
Well, first of all, I don't know that he bought it. It might have been, you notice these guys are all getting these Hilco extractors at the same time, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying they were gifted to them. All I'm saying is they're all getting them at the same time. And all of these videos are coming out at the same time. It could be a great marketing scheme.
Yeah.
They're also giving one away on their channel. So, maybe they've been blessed. They didn't give specifics on it.
Shout out to Grandy there, Grandy Beekeeping.
Hey, how's it going? So,
yeah, I know it's, whatever, like you say, it's a marketing thing, I guess, or something, they're trying to help everybody out. And
well, I mean, I'm glad. I hope, this is the same people that we asked about giving a discount for viewers that couldn't do it, That's
you mean
Hilco? Yeah, I called them first off about that co-op where people could get a discount for being a member type of thing. Oh, we can't do it. We're too new, but we'll give away one, Don't know. Whatever. It's their business.
Yeah, he was on Stream Team. I wasn't able to listen to him because I was in the middle of spinning honey. And sounded like they either giving one away or was it going to give it at cost or something or a percentage off?
Well, they're going to give it away, but the way they're doing the giveaway is you can enter for free, but if you do a super chat, you get an extra entry.
Now that's when somebody gives you money.
Yep, like Lee did for my chat.
Right.
And so, you can hedge the bet, right? For I don't know if it's every $10. They said every super chat over $10 would get one, but I don't know if you give them 20, do you get two?
You get two. I think it costs you $10 for a chance.
And I mean, when they did that, a lot of people started chucking super chats there. So
Yeah.
that'll help offset the cost if they're getting it at a discount. I don't know how they're structuring it, but hell, if I won one for free, I wouldn't turn it down. You know what I mean? So it's a good thing. 4-year warranty. Again, those trim rings kind of look like the same type of plastic that like frames are made out of. I don't know.
Yeah, Granny said it's $10 per chance.
Yep, but it's $10 per chance. But you can also do the hashtag Hillco or hashtag Stream Team hashtag Hillco in the chat and get entered for free. You do that, and if you send them $10, then you got 2, right? And you can do that. I guess 3 weeks because they're giving it away on Greg's stream, which is good, man. I'm glad.
Now, when they say a hashtag, what is a hashtag?
So whenever you put a hashtag on something, you can actually search a hashtag, and it'll pull up like everything that has that hashtag on it.
But what is it? I mean, where's that on my keyboard at?
Oh, it's like a Shift 4, right? I think it's Shift 4 or something like that.
You're talking about an angle?
No, it's Shift 3, the number sign.
Oh, the pound sign. Okay.
Yeah, pound sign. See, Larry got it. Hey, Rodney. Rodney kills swarms. He's been catching a ton of swarms down there in the upstate. But, right now, we still got 2 more giveaways coming up for us. We got 2 more of those hive top feeders. I'll be interested to see how people like them that have gotten them. We've given 3 away so far. We're giving another one Tuesday and then another one the Tuesday after that. And then hopefully somewhere, probably this week, I'll need to, we old school. It's the pound sign. A lot of people, if you put like that number, the pound sign in 1, people wouldn't know, The shipping costs more than the product. Yeah, a lot of times it does. I mean, Lee and I have had that when we've done giveaways where the item was $12 and the shipping was $18 to send to Alabama. It's crazy. But we've been. I can't say that. Everything to this point, other than the Blythewood stuff, has come out of our own pockets. We haven't, given anything that's been, really given to us. Obviously, the stuff with Blythewood Bee Company, that's coming from Blythewood. Stacy just ordered the buckets you get. I don't even know. I've got some buckets still. Typically, I don't leave it in the buckets, though. So up to this point, I've just taken the buckets and put it in my bottling tank, and then I bottle it, right? So I can keep 3 buckets in my bottling tank warmed at all times. I'm not going to let it get solid in there, even if I leave it on a lower temperature.
Well, that's what I'm planning on doing is I've got some buckets from last year's crop, and mainly
how does from last year look compared to this year?
The one bucket I've got right now it's darker, whereas the rest of it, I've looked at it and you can tell it's lighter. But I've never distinguished that on top. On a bucket, I usually put the date, the poundage, and that's it. Now this year I'm putting that and light honey or dark honey, and it's all been light coming out of there this year. And a friend of mine in the club, he said the same thing.
I do, Brad. I make labels for my mason jars. They're kind of skeptical though, because but now I can laser etch mason jars, so I don't need to make them anymore. I can just put the jar on there and engrave it right into the glass, which I'm gonna do. if I can get some smooth mason jars. And oh, you know what? I got some. I'll have to show it on Tuesday. So Daisy's Honey sent me 2 bottles of mead in the mail. I got a box. I'm like, man, this is heavy. What is in here? I thought he sent me a box of hive tools or something. I mean, it was heavy. And I get in there and I open it up, and it's 2 wine bottles with one's blueberry mead and one's regular mead. I'm going to save it probably till my daughter comes here, and we'll see if we can punish a couple bottles of mead. First time I've seen her in 3 years, so we're going to try to knock those out, maybe by a fire outside or something. But so I've got like 20 of my 2 framers have queens in them. And I was kind of trying to let them go through a brood cycle and then start pulling those frames, because I can still get, I've heard of queens coming back to October here. Because really around the middle of October, that's when they really start kicking drones out, you know, and stop the whole process. But my main thing is now I can go out to any of these colonies, and that's what I love about these 2 framers. If you put a blank frame in there, it takes them a long time to draw that comb out, which, you know, they don't overpopulate very quick because she's only going to lay to the population in there. So,
well, it's been dry here as far as like nectar. It's more or less going into the dearth. And that's what I did today. I went out there and I checked my nukes, and they were getting dry. You know, they didn't have the nectar in there. So I went ahead and put some, I have some Pro Sweet. So I went ahead and gave the ones that needed that, and ones that had honey and stuff. I just, you know, they're fine. But I also noticed that maybe because there isn't a nectar source coming in, the queens are slowing down.
mm-hmm.
I was going to do some grafting last week, but I couldn't find any larvae material, or, you know, not larvae, but royal jelly, just pure royal jelly when I'm looking for to give me the right age larvae.
Well, and I went out there after it was dry, and I made really, really thin syrup, and they just killed it. I mean, it was 0.3 to 1. I mean, it was 25 pounds of sugar to 80 pounds of water in a tote, open fed them with pine straw floating on top of it, and they just destroyed it. And then, you know, people are like, well, why are you doing that? Well, because it's been dry, right? Give them something to give to the brood. And then secondly, now it's raining, so they can't get out.
That's right.
So it's just,
I mean, for the folks listening tonight, I mean, when you're looking at a frame and you're looking at larvae or after the eggs have been hatched, you know, after 3 days, if they're not swimming in a really nice puddle of jelly and they kind of get sort of like dry looking,
yeah,
there's a nectar issue. There's food issue right there. And you need to feed that hive to, so they can, you know, put the
nutrients into
put their energy into making royal jelly.
Well, the royal jelly also keeps those brood hydrated.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So if you don't have it, then, you know, Rodney, I have a problem. There's probably the same problem you have with light hives. I did start feeding, but the problem is then the heavy colonies don't think twice about kicking their butts to get in there, you know. So I've tried to, I've open fed, I've fed at night, you know, put the jars on there. I might even go out in the rain tomorrow and mix some up just to put on these hives that are going to have rain for the next few days.
Is there I know Man Lake's the only one that sells that Pro Suite. I don't think there's anybody down around your area that sells it, do they?
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, the only reason I got it was a friend of mine's a dealer, and he kind of
got about 125 or 150 pounds of sugar in the back seat of my truck right now.
Did you just buy it?
Yeah, $14 for a 5-pound bag at Walmart now.
$14.
Yeah, it's 14.
56 cents a pound.
Yep. And that's before tax, right? You got to add tax on there.
No, not a. That's I don't. There's no tax on that I know of.
Well, here it is.
She just busted a 5-gallon bucket of honey on the floor, man.
I know. He said he don't keep his in buckets either. Pulled my buckets out of storage, filled it up, tried to pick it up, and busted 5 gallons of honey on the floor. And yeah, that's the thing. The buckets, if you let them sit out and they don't have anything in them, they're like anything else. They'll get brittle from UV rays too.
Yeah, in the sunlight. Yeah.
So that could be part of the problem. I don't know,
Well, I had some Home Depot buckets, and I used them as feeder buckets, and they're out in the UV. Shoot, they didn't last a season. They just get brittle.
Well, even totes or anything you put out there, the sun tears them up.
Yeah, I got a tote full of this not full of it. It's got Pro Sweet in it. And right now I need to get a 5-gallon bucket of Pro Sweet because I feel I used it today. So it's been in my basement in the garage area. So I have to bring it out and get the forklift. And
now, how much does 5 gallons usually cost you a Pro Sweet?
Well, I don't know. I never bought it that way. I always, a friend of mine, he was wanting me to get interested in it. So I bought a tote for $50 used. And then he put, I don't know, 250 gallon of it in there. And it was about I don't know, I think $1,000 at least for that.
Man.
But I buy when I buy granulated sugar to feed up for the fall, I'll go up to the restaurant store. It's going to cost me $1,200. I drop some money in sugar.
You buy a whole pallet?
I buy it, like a ton, 2,000 pounds on a pallet.
Yeah,
and I used to, like last year, I went to Walmart and went around all these different Walmarts, that we're traveling by and I got a lot of it that way. And then a friend of mine that was helping out, we all went up to the restaurant store up in Pennsylvania. And
at the restaurant store, is it cheaper than 56 cents a pound?
A lot of times it is.
Walmart is even cheaper than buying it at Sam's Club, which is a Walmart.
Yeah. No.
So
you need to check out
Webstront or
what is it? The restaurant supply store, I think it's called.
Now we have one of those here.
There's a chain. It's a chain. Now you have to be a membership thing, but if you buy over a certain amount, I think it is $500. I think you get a year's membership, your initial membership for free. Then after that, I think it's $50 a year.
Well, see what I've done with Walmart or Sam's Club, not Walmart, but it was like Sam's Club. I got the $100 membership or whatever, but they give you cash back. So all year long, my purchases are racking up dollars. And then at the end of the year, when they ask you, do you want to renew your membership? I just use that cash back to pay for my membership. And it's worked. I actually do have, Rodney, I actually put some frame feeders in a couple of my weaker colonies that weren't drawing out the frames on the outside. So I took one of the outside frames out and dropped the frame feeder in them and put that in. At this point, my thing is, if you look at NASA, the NASA website, it says that, from July through November, goldenrod blooms there or here. And I haven't seen any goldenrod yet, but it is July. It doesn't say the beginning of July or the end of July or where. So at this point, I'm just trying to draw some extra comb out. And I figure my strong ones are going to pack away whatever they're going to pack away.
Yeah. As like Rodney's saying there, I don't mix any of those. As I went, I've been at it for 12 years, and I watched the Fat Bee Man 12 years ago, and tea tree oil and all those essence of oils and stuff. And I did that stuff for a while, and it gets expensive.
Well, I think it's so
And
funny because people will say, like, putting the peppermint candies, I don't want that in my honey. I don't want, but then they put all this crap in the feed, which gets stored in the honey. If they're using the same thought process,
yeah.
right? They're like, oh, well, I don't want to use peppermint because that'll taint my honey. But then
anyway, I quit all that, save you hundreds of dollars there. What's it called? The Honeybee Healthy. It got up to over $100 a gallon. I quit that, and it just feeds straight sugar. And Frederick Dunn did that one experiment, I don't know, 6-7 years ago.
I saw that where he had all the Boardman feeders.
Yeah, all that out there, and the number one that the bees took it right down over all of them was just pure sugar water.
Well,
and then there's like there's been a discussion about like a friend of mine talks about feeding the spring honey versus the fall honey, because the fall honey has more ash and stuff that they can't handle in their gut. And people ask me what I say. Yeah, I take all their honey away and I feed them sugar water, because sugar water is more pure than honey is. And the science guys have come out and stated that it's actually better for the bees, to be quite honest.
The regular sugar?
Just common sugar water is actually more beneficial for the bees and their gut than their own honey.
This was kind of an experiment and my cheapness at the same time. So I had bees going to, before it started raining, I had bees going to my water sources, right? I had those bees. And then I had obviously bees out looking for nectar too, right? So when I diluted that sugar down so much, I really didn't know if they were going to take it or not. And when I was surprised that they hit it so hard, I mean, really, really.
Well, that just proves to you that your nectar flow is over with.
Yeah, well, the spring one, right, or the early flow is definitely done.
Yeah, well, see, I'm here in Maryland for work. Now, this is where I live, because different parts of the state is different, I'm sure. Is that I don't really get a fall flow. I get April, May, and June. I'm done. I'm done for the whole entire year. Now, I might get a little bit of goldenrod if it rains, and behind me, you can see in that wood pile behind me, there's a whole ton of goldenrod, and they'll get something out of that. But I can't rely on that for the feed them through the winter time. Now, a friend of mine, he lives, how much sugar water do you keep out?
That's going to really that's going to vary depending on how many colonies you have, right? So if you've got 2 colonies, you won't keep out as much as like I would with 60. So it's going to vary. So when I made 10 gallons of syrup in a tote. Well, when I say syrup, we have to use that loosely. It was 1 bag of sugar to 80 pounds of water. So it was 0.3 to 1. I mean, most people are like, well, 75%, right? Like 0.75 to 1 is good.
Well, Bob Benny talks about if you're like if you're going to draw a wax out, it's what is it? 50. That's 0.5.
0.5. So mine was less than that, and they were still taking it out. And I thought, well, they're going to bring it back to the colony. They're going to evaporate it. And when they evaporate it, if they don't evaporate it, then, the brood and the bees are going to consume it. And if they evaporate it, then that's helping to cool the colonies down when it was really hot. And I am just outside of Columbia, Rodney. I think you're in upstate South Carolina. I'm in the Midlands. Yeah, 2 gallons in a few hours. Yeah, so your nectar flow is pretty much over too then. My thing is, at this point, I'll give it give them as much as they want, it takes them pretty much a day to do 10 gallons. But it's hopefully, some of those weaker colonies, hopefully it's encouraging them to build some comb out, store it. I haven't been able to get into it. Yeah, it does get
we dropped out.
What do you mean?
Well, we were in black. I don't know. Both our screens were black here for
I
30
didn't see
seconds.
it.
You didn't?
I saw it time, yeah.
Mine was like doing the rotating thing, whatever they call that.
The little lag.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never saw it over here. Never saw it on my YouTube feed either.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was another reason, Gray. That's why I figure if I'm doing it really thin, I'm also getting more distance out of my money. the cheap aspect of it, because it is getting harder to find the 25-pound bags without, like you said, Charlie, going from store to store to store to try to find it.
Yeah, and the biggest problem is around here is that as soon as the stores, I asked the manager about this, and I said, well, can't you call the warehouse? Well, it seems like that the store manager doesn't have a whole lot to say about that. They, the whoever else it's like, okay, the jelly season is over with. The ladies are not going to make, raspberry jelly anymore. So we don't need these big bags of sugar. And I'm like, well, right now, when you say we don't need them, us beekeepers do.
Right.
How about bringing in so much of it for us?
And you can't go online to their website and order it for store delivery either? Store pickup?
Yeah, I did that too one time. Yeah. You know what I wound up with? It was a bunch of 10-pound bags.
Really?
Yeah. I was like, what is this crap?
Well, Gray, what I did, and I'm not saying this will work in your area. I don't know where you're located, but I just, hey, DC, I took a 25-pound bag of sugar and I mixed it up like I would 1-to-1. Filled up a 5-gallon pail. And really, 25 pounds in a 5-gallon pail is a little bit stronger than 1-to-1. But once I mix that up and dump it in my tote, then I fill the 5-gallon pail up and rinse out the residual sugar in there. I don't rinse it out. I just fill it the rest up and blend that excess sugar in and dump that in the tote as well. And the manager can order you a pallet, Larry says.
Well, they weren't very helpful. I'll put it to you that way. The only place that was helpful was the restaurant store, and it came in 50-pound bags. And actually, that really works better for me because it's half the amount of bags that you have to fill with. And then now with me, I got an advantage to most people. I've got a forklift. I can bring that forklift over with that pallet right over top of my 55-gallon drum mixing machine.
Just start.
And I bring you bring a bag over there and you have a razor knife and shoot.
Now, do you start like half full of water and then start adding the sugar to it?
I have a formula. I mean, I don't do the pound thing. That doesn't make sense to me. I do, let's face it, everything's gallons.
Right.
And you go to Home Depot, you go into the, what do you call it? The plant section. And you get a water meter that you put on your garden hose, and it's digital.
Right.
And it meters out, and I check it. It's accurate. It'll tell you how many gallons of water you're putting in a tank. So I figured it out mathematically. 20 gallons of water, 250 pounds of sugar, which is a little bit less than 2-to-1 for fall feeding. But it's enough less that my diaphragm honey pump, and then I went to Tractor Supply. I got lucky. Somebody brought in it was a 40-gallon sprayer tank with a sprayer wand, and it had a pump on it that's electric pump. and they wanted something different. So they brought it back. So they were trying, and then I bought it, and that thing was like $200 and some, and I got it for like $95. I said, put it in the truck. And that diaphragm pump is, after a while, it you can't have it too thick of an item or it won't pump.
Right.
And so I keep it, I think I'm somewhere around 50 pounds shy of a 2-to-1 mix. And so anyway, I keep it that way. It works fine. And it pumps. And I'm looking up some information if I can find it for you. So I put 20 gallons of water in, 250 pounds of sugar, and I have a heater underneath that 55-gallon drum. So I cook it. And I like doing it that way. I mean, some people say you don't have to, which I'm sure you don't. And then I have a built-in mixer. It's all it is I had a guy take that drum. He put a hole in the bottom. He didn't put one big enough. He asked my brother about it, and I'm like, what's he know? You asked me. Should have put a bigger outlet, but it works. And we had this stainless steel rod, and it hooks. He made a bracket that hooks on the side of the drum, that it's on an angle. Put 2 pillar blocks, put that shaft through there, and on the end there's a propeller. And at the other end, I just took an old Skill, electric drill.
Right.
And mounted it on there, zip tied it so it wouldn't move around to this bar sticking up there. And you plug that in, and you take and pull the trigger, push the button in so it stays on the run mode, and it works just fine.
Well, I saw Larry.
And I'll mix. What it was getting down to it is the 20 gallons of water, 250 for sugar. You get 40 gallons of sugar water.
2-to-1 though, right?
2-to-1. Yeah, 2-to-1.
I saw where Larry says he uses a trash pump. I actually have one of those, just a submersible pump. I wonder if I could just drop that in a 55-gallon barrel.
You can make up, they got those one designs where you have a pump, and instead of using heat, it just sits there and spins it like crazy.
Right.
And it'll mix. I don't know how much granulation it will come back at you, but that will mix. I started, cooking this stuff on the kitchen stove, and after a while, that's like, that doesn't work too well after a while.
Yeah, I basically do the barnyard bees, pour the sugar in there, and they're just blast it with the garden hose. I do have the drill, and I do have the attachment, the paddle bit. I have the concrete mixing bit, all that stuff to roll around the inside of the bucket as well. So, I mean, I've done it that way, but 5 gallons won't get me far with.
That's what I was going to say. You're beyond that. So, you need to be mixing up 50 gallons or whatever. You need volume. You need a tank. That was another thing. I was doing it in 5-gallon buckets. It just killing my shoulders. And so I took like I say, I have a forklift so I can raise up that tank, gravity feed it into my 40-gallon tank, which is on a pallet in the back of my pickup truck. And then I just put a marine battery or just a car battery. I mean, my brother says, hook it up to.
Do you have the pump like a gas pump that you just pump it right out?
Yeah, you can do it that way. You can use a gas. You can this thing had a sprayer nozzle, so you had to whack it off with cut it off, get rid of that. Then what I did was I put a pipe in there with a 1/4 turn valve on it and a little common pipe with a little elbow,
right,
90-degree elbow, and I just go over there and you just turn it, a 1/4 turn or half a turn, fills the top high feeders up, and I'm done. So let's see.
All right. So Larry says his has 2-inch hoses, and we left it circulate until it's clear, 250 gallons at a time.
Yeah, you can do that. I'll tell you, little bits of honey. He shows you one on there where it's, it's a 55-gallon drum, plastic. He's got a trash pump in the bottom. He's got it hard. How is it? He's got a hard pipe coming up and then across and then down like a U shape. And it goes in the other side, and it's got an angled.
So it's sucking it up from the bottom and redistributing it.
Yeah, where you're going around, he's got like a 45 on the bottom end of where it's making that thing spin like a whirlpool. And then the bar that's going across, he's got a gate up there that he can cut it down, and there's another valve there that he can hook a hose to it and fill up his 5-gallon buckets with it. So the pump will pump it out of the 55-gallon drum into his buckets. Me, I would have a 40-gallon tank in the back of my truck. That way, none of this lifting stuff. I'm always big on how can I save my back.
Well, like Bruce has just valves, right? So you could open the valve, and I guess if you're turning off the one that's recirculating, it's going to suck it up and push pressure down the line. And then
you can't. The valve, it's a butterfly valve in there, where if you want to restrict it some, it will flow the sugar water out the garden hose. And, you're kind of pumping it out without putting too much pressure on that pump.
Right.
But, I got I make lists, I can't remember anything. And it's like 2-to-1 sugar water mix for 40 gallons is 20 gallons of water and 250 pounds of sugar. It's about 40 gallons. Basically, you're doubling the amount of the volume of the water with the sugar.
Now, if you're not using, you're using ProSweet too. I mean, but how are you keeping it where it doesn't ferment? You put some apple cider vinegar in it?
Now, when I say I'm using ProSweet, that's only at certain times of the year.
Okay.
Like you're saying, if you put that sugar water out there, especially like these hives behind me, you put a jar of sugar water out there, them 10 framers that's sitting 30 feet in front of them, they're going to go back out there. They're going to smell that, and they're going to kill those hives.
Right.
I've had it done. Whereas when I'm feeding them, like those boxes, inside the boxes are pint jars with one of them feeder lids. And you could put ProSweet in the middle of the day, bright sunshine, everybody's flying. They won't attack them hives because they don't smell it. That's the good thing about ProSweet. It's thick, but the bees can't smell that stuff.
Right.
And sugar water, they can smell that like in a heartbeat. And that's when I use the ProSweet, when I'm in a situation where to not have robbing. But when it comes to fall feeding after Labor Day here in Maryland, it's when we start feeding. I use sugar water, and like you say, you get out there with that pump, and I feed them late in the evening when sun's not, it's starting to go down.
Right, when they're starting.
And everybody's kind of home, and I use top high feeders. I never really use frame feeders, and of course, a lot of folks talk about the drowning thing, and a lot of times it's how well the lid fits on that top high feeder,
right,
and that kind of thing. And I fill them up. And another thing with top high feeders is, especially with the screening, the bees will drink it down, and then they'll try to get underneath that screen to get out into where the moisture or the sugar is, because they can't reach it and they're hungry. And I try to keep those top high feeders full all the time. Now, sometimes I actually will, if I got a load on the truck, I'll go out there in the middle of the day after lunch and feed them all because they'll drink it in 6 hours. If you feed in the fall in the evening, the next morning it's gone. That stuff is gone. Depends on how much you're feeding them too. I mean, I've got the Man Lake 4-gallon feeders. Now they'll last a couple of days.
I've got 1-gallon frame feeders. Got a few top hive feeders. Now I've got the nukes have the jars on the top, right? So my thing is that being able to feed them and not have to store the syrup too long to where it starts to ferment in the tank.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to mix up. I'm going to mix up 40-gallon batches. I'm going to take it out of that. If anything, I'll mix it up. Of course, it's being heated. So I have to wait till the next day for it to be cooled down. Put it in my tank. And then I'm going out there and feeding. I mean, when I get done, last year I was feeding close to 40 hives. And I actually would mix it a little bit thinner, maybe 41, where it was coming up the neck inside that tank.
Right.
And actually, we might have a little bit left over in the mixing tank. And I would go through 40 gallons in one feeding because I'm putting. I got the licensed feeders for the 5-frame nukes. They hold 3 quarts. Well, I had like 27 of them to feed. And then I had 10 honey hives, which have the 4-gallon feeders. Top hive feeders from Man Lake. Now, what I did is I would only fill one side up with the sugar water, which is about 2 gallons. Right. Well, 2 times 10, there's 20 gallons of sugar water right there. Boom, bang, going.
Right.
6 hours later, it's inside the hive. It's gone. It's there, unless you've got them fed to the point where they stop taking it. And that's kind of where I'm at up here with the winter. I have this coming spring. I didn't feed my nukes to the point where they just quit taking it. And they were running out of food come springtime. And I had to make up some sugar bricks real quick.
Yeah, that's what I did, sugar bricks over the winter.
And then I did sugar bricks. They were like lids on top of my hives. I would put queen excluder and then put this basically a 3-inch lid full of solid sugar that I actually cooked to hot, like a boiling liquid. That's a lot of work. When I got done, I did that with a friend of mine and I was whipped by the end of the day. And they work. But then what I found is because he doesn't feed in the sugar water. He lives in an area where he has natural feed, and he doesn't have to feed his bees. And this is more of an insurance policy for him. Where with me, I can feed my bees, and I found that a lot of my sugar water frames were not touched. So right now, I've got a whole pile of that stuff in the freezers. To keep it through the summertime. I'm getting ready to pull it out, and I will divide it up amongst my 10 honey hives. And the way I work my hives is they're mediums. I take the bottom box off in the spring, which leaves me with 2 mediums, which is my single brood chamber management starting.
Right.
Once I'm done doing honey business, which I'm pretty close. Then I will put those brood boxes back on top, and then I'll run into the winter with 3 mediums, and then I will fill them after Labor Day, a week or 2. I'll start running 2-to-1 sugar water. Now they'll fill that top box up completely with sugar water, and then they'll fill kind of down into the brood chamber area.
That's fine. You're not harvesting honey from the brood chambers anyway, so
no.
That's just winter stores.
It's all winter stores, and then that should get them through the winter.
Now, do you ever put empty supers on? Like you're using mediums, so I call them supers, but right. So
Yeah.
if you're using do you ever like when you pull that honey, are you going to give them like empty comb and like here you go, draw it out, store it?
There's not enough
Not
flow coming
enough time.
in. There's not enough flow to.
No, I'm just talking about with your feed while you're feeding them.
Oh, I've never really tried that.
See if they would draw some comb out.
See, last year was first year I did single brood chamber, and then I had talked to one guy, and I had a swarm out of my 10 framer and a swarm out of my nuke. Now that was because I fed them too much in August. So then I said, well, I said I left a super on there. I want to run a deep and a medium.
Like just
What you are saying, yeah, a deep and a medium is another way of. My question is, if you're going to do single brood chamber management, I'm thinking, okay, if you put the medium on top with the honey, then the bees are going to be up in that medium come springtime. So how are you going to pull that medium off unless you do reverse and then wait until all the bees kind of get up into the deep? But then you might be splitting the brood at that point in time, which is not good either.
Well, I think next year I'm going to do things a little bit different than I did this year because obviously next year, I said this last year. So this year, my goal is not going to be to expand. Hopefully when I do spring splits, I'll be spring splitting back to 2 framers to make queens for nukes, right? So hopefully when I do that, I can first round, boom, 30 nukes can go out, ideally, and not do what I did this year and go from 12 to 60, right? I'm going to go, hopefully I get a great take, that everything lives.
Yeah, but if you got 60 hives right now and you lose,
I count my 2 framers too in that. So
yeah, all right. I mean, you're not going to. I don't think you're going to run 2 framers through the wintertime.
no, so
that one's behind me there. That's my mating boxes. Come August, they'll all be put away.
Right. So what I'm planning to do is when I pull the honey, I'm going to take 2 framers that have queens and move them to 5 framers. And I'm going to take brood out of my big mega colonies and bees to help boost them up. Right.
But is the brood slowing down now?
Well, I think everybody right after the solstice when the days start getting shorter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't know whether you're going to have enough brood to do all that.
Well, otherwise I'll find weak queens and merge and have to do it that way. I don't know. I could have some queenless colonies out there. I think my swarm colony, I don't think it's got a queen. It could. I found a queen, a mated queen that was coming back on a flight and just landed on the hive stand the other day. And I'm like, you obviously don't go here where there's no box, but I don't know where you go, so I put her in a roller cage and like a dummy. I thought it had a cap in the end. I didn't have my glasses on. It did have a cap in the end, but the cap was actually a cell protector and not an end cap. So she just crawled right out of the hole, and went out. So when I came back to her, she was gone. So hopefully she found her home. But yeah, just combined down some, I found that the best queens that I've had are the ones that I've actually made myself, whether it came off of another. And when I say made myself, the bees made themselves, right? Like with a walk away or something like that. Best queen, bar none, that I've had. And that's not throwing shade at any. Well, I will throw shade. The cutie queens I got this year, I'm not too impressed with, to be honest with you.
I'll have to agree with you there. I got 10 or more of them this year, and they're like, yeah, some of them were good, some of them weren't.
Some of them you put them in there, and they laid a few eggs, and then they got superseded right away.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that those superseded queens have the genetics from Cutix, but they picked a better queen. She went out and got naturally mated and came back and, does good. We'll just have to see. I mean, the 2-frame, now the ones I got from Jose, they're doing pretty good. I took and strong pheromones after I put them in the 2-framer. This, as compared to banking them, moving them to 2-framers and letting them lay was the best decision I think I have made this year.
You were talking about that. What is it about you banked them?
Okay, so the Cuticle queens, I was getting them in 25 at a time, and I was banking them in the cages and selling them, and then I would use them as I needed to make splits or whatever, the ones that I needed. Well, there's that period of time, they're getting taken care of, but they're not laying.
Right.
So they kind of go a little dormant.
Yep, they do.
And so putting them in a 2-framer and letting that queen, well, first off, she doesn't have that many bees that really have to agree with having her as the queen. They don't have a queen. She goes in, they accept her. She starts laying after a few days like normal, and everything's golden. But then I can go back. She's been laying the whole time. I can recage her if I need to put her somewhere. She's left eggs now behind to make a new queen. And because she's been laying, she's got a strong pheromone. And if I put her in a queenless colony, it's like they go right on her. And, I put her in a swarm colony that didn't have a queen. They took to her immediately. 2 hours later, I released her. She's in there now. She's growing that swarm colony up and doing good. And
well, that's like I was saying earlier. I had that where I took the queen got above the queen sorters. I couldn't find her, but she's on her own hive now. I moved her, and then that 2 mediums were queenless for sure. So I left them queenless for 2 days. So was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. I went out there in the evening and I had a medium 2-frame nuke there with a queen in it. And I made sure she was on the inside between the 2 frames. When I picked those 2 frames up, I had made a hole in that hive. I just dropped, instead of me, like you say, getting her to go and release into her, I just dropped them 2 frames in there. And I'm figuring, hey, they're looking for a queen. So here she is. So I haven't checked them since then. But
the good thing, for me, I'm not a tracker. I don't write a bunch of notes. I try to do as much as I can for memory. I go out there when I check the 2-framers, I check them all up. Yep, queen, virgin queen, virgin queen cell, whatever. And my main thing is making sure they're not overpopulated in there where they're going to swarm. Even Larry, a week. The thing is, if I bank them for a week, I don't know how long they were banked before they were sent to me or before I got them. That's the only kind of discrepancy. But I let Jose's queens were in there, I think, 2 days before I put them in those 2-framers. And like you said, I've taken whole nukes and drop them in. And here's kind of the other thing I learned early in the season, which I like the 2-framers a little bit better than the 5-framers for a resource. And the reason I say that is because if you're using a 5-frame colony, which I've done, right? I've made splits to 5-framers, and it takes them a long time to build up. At least it's been my experience this year. And if they don't take, then now you've got 3 frames of brood you've robbed from other places to try to make this queen and make it go. So where if I'm doing it in 2-framers, I've got 3 colonies that are trying to produce queens as compared to 1. So by percentages, you'll have a better chance using the 2-frame setup than you will a 5-frame setup. And that, for me, that's working for me. I'm not saying that'll work for everybody, but playing the numbers game with 2-framers, if I, instead of making a split into a nuke and using 2 or 3 frames of brood out of different colonies, now I'm making 3 colonies with 3 frames of brood instead of 2 and letting them work. I mean, you're doing it too, so I'm sure you probably have similar experience to that.
Yeah, I mean that's what I try to do is when I'm making them hives behind me, I try to find a frame of cat brood that's just about ready to merge, and it doesn't have to be a solid cat frame. It can be partial.
The arc or whatever.
It's got a rainbow, and you got some honey in there, and you got some pollen, and you got a small, a pretty good sized patch of brood, something like that, and drop that in there. And then what I did this year was I made sure that second frame had some, nectar in it and stuff like that. A fair amount, not completely. I wanted open nectar, not really honey. That way, I didn't have to feed them right off the bat.
Right.
Drop a cell in there where.
Yep. And if you lose, you're only really out one.
Yeah, I got a couple of them in there right now. They're laying workers, and they, the cell either didn't work or the queen didn't come back or something. And I'm like, yeah, it's only 2 frames, and you got, and the bees were, after a while, them bees will dissipate,
Right.
And all that. Whereas now some of the hives there that I've been feeding that have got queens and they're mated, now that they got a ton of bees in there. They're doing good.
Well, yeah. So that's
the thing about it is if you can pull that queen out and cage her and sell her, and then wait a day or something, or just put another cell in there, you got that population of bees already started, and to them that's their new hive. That's,
right.
They're not. You don't have to worry about them leaving.
Well, I think it's the difference between keeping bees and creating an ecosystem of sustainability for your bee yard, right? So at this point, I could, knock on wood, it don't happen, but I could lose 20 colonies outside right now. The rains could blow 20 colonies over. I could go out to my 2 framers and they would be right back up and running if they were, ability,
It's just like I was just telling you about where I dropped those 2 frames in with the queen, in that queenless hive. If you don't have that queen, it's like, oh my God, I got to find a queen. Oh, that's going to cost me $35 or $40. And you're thinking about, thinking about all those things. Well, I just walked over here. Here's a queen right here. Okay, she looks good.
Yep.
Plop her in. You're done. No fuss. No stressed out.
Right.
And that's the thing about. I try to tell folks with, if you got 4 honey hives in your backyard beekeeper, you should have 4 nukes. And
I've done that this year too, Charlie. I've taken a 10 frame colony that was struggling and couldn't make a queen, and they were just doing terrible. I just took a whole 5 frame nuke, 5 frames, pulled 5 frames out of that box and dropped that nuke right in the middle of them.
You're done.
Yep, and
that's why they call them resource hives. Now, like you say, if you're trying to raise queens, like myself, all right, I'm grafting, and I go through the process. I got to have that cell's got to be. I want that cell to be naturally, where the queen comes out and she's more accepted that way. And that last video I put out where I took that virgin, because honestly, I thought that cell was a dud, because I turned that cell up and you could see where she dropped back down to the JZ-BZ couple on the inside of that cocoon.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, she's dead. She's no good. I turned it back up. I put it in that roller cage, put it in the incubator. I came in that evening, at 5:30, and I'm like, or whatever, it's 5:30, I guess. I thought about it at 5. I said, oh, she's supposed to hatch today. I said, I'll go down there and see if there's anything down there. Sure enough, there she is. So I put a little bit of, I had a little bear up here that's crystallized. I keep it there for that purpose, where you take a little bit of crystallization, put it on the bottom edge of that roller cage. So she went right to it to get something to eat because they're hungry. And then I made the film where I put her in that made up 2-framer, where you put the brood and the honey in there and plenty of bees. I went and checked her there yesterday, and sure enough, she's in there, big as life, doing a great job.
Eugene says the 2-framer is not built up near as fast as a 5 with 3 frames. Can't even compare the head of the 2-frame. You're right. They don't. And that's a benefit, because the fact that they don't build up as fast means if I got to go snatch the queen that's been laying in there and take her, they're going to build. I don't have to worry about them swarming like that. At least for what I'm doing, because I'm running 2s, 5s, and 10s. So the 2s are just my resources. I could actually, if I wanted to go out there tomorrow and move all my 2 frames to 5 frames, I could do it. I could take my 2-framers and move them into a 5-frame box, and then take brood out of my other ones and just give them a brood bomb, and they'll blow up just as quick. But if I take the queen out of a 2-framer, as soon as I take that queen out, they're going to start making another queen if they've got eggs in there, which they should. Of course, sometimes what I've also found is that they can, the queen will take a little break, right? So she'll lay up a frame with what she's got, and then they cap it, and then they're just, I don't know what she's doing. I guess she's drinking margaritas because she's not doing anything because everything's capped, So that's all I'm doing is I'm just staging. I'll move 2s to 5s. If I have to shuffle some brood around from other frames or, give brood or from other colonies, I can always do that and I might condense them down. I might take a queen out of one and put it in a colony, then I could take the brood that she's left behind with the other colony and drop it in there. And now I've got 3 frames in a 5-frame colony, and so it's really, it's flexible, right? For me, it's flexible. I can move stuff back and forth and shift it around, strengthen colonies, weaken colonies that are too strong.
Like now, DC talked about being money challenged and have specialized equipment, and I understand that. The hives behind me I made myself, so and all that. But you can take if you get an unassembled deep box, or you can router the grooves in and make and get yourself some partitions.
Right.
And make up a you can have them set up to where you can either put 3 frames in, 2 frames in, depending on, and make a 4 queen box that you could, get them mated out of. Stuff like that. You can also buy them too, but.
Hey, and I did find out when I started setting up these 2-framers that I got that you can put a queen excluder over top of them and a 5-frame will fit right on them. And so you could technically, basically, who's it, Randy Oliver's resource hive? You could do that with 5 over 2 2s as well. Now, I don't know how effective it would be, but you could do it. It would work. Let me see. Yeah,
Eugene does OTS on the spot creamery. Yeah, I haven't tried that, but I actually met Mel that invented that, I guess you would call it.
That's what I did with a few. I built a deep into 2 5s. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can skin the cat any way you want to, it kind of depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it and the level of operation that you're in. Bob here is, I'll say, sort of the same as me as far as, he's got a nuke department. He's got 10-frame honey hives, and he's got the nursery yard, you might say, as the 2-framers.
Right.
And, it works for him, and
Well,
it's where, for me, I'm selling honey, I'm selling nukes, and I'm
right.
selling queens. Now, I'm not, this year, I haven't promoted my queen as much as far as advertising in the local bee clubs because
I
I
sold
just,
about 75 queens this year. I did, just
yeah.
the way I was doing it, and I bought all those queens and resold them. So
And you
yeah,
made a little bit of, and you made a little bit of money on the side to,
yeah, pay
you
for
know,
my own queens that I used, right,
yeah.
and stuff like
But
that.
it's like if you learn how to graft, it is not that hard, um, and learn that part of it. Um,
Well, see, that's the main thing. Like right now, here's what I'm thinking. This is my thought process, and
once you're able to make your own queens, you're totally self-sustainable. Totally.
right. Well, see, that's the thing. So nobody here carries queens really. So every time somebody would call Blythewood Bee Company that needed a queen, they would give them my number. So I would sell them a queen. Or they didn't have any nukes. Somebody wanted a nuke. I would sell them a nuke out of my hives. I would just make them a nuke with the queen. And, when are you going to come get it? Saturday? Great. So about Wednesday, I would go out there and make them, put them in a pro nuke, let them get used to their new environment. And then Friday night, I would close them up. And Saturday, they would come pick up a nice nuke to carry home to their yard and be fine. So that's the reason I do the stages, right? If somebody wants a queen, I'm not going into one of my nukes or one of my production colonies to get a queen. No, I go out to my two framer and I pull a queen out of my two framer that's been laying, and that's the queen I'm selling them right now. And then guess what? Those bees in that two framer are making me a new queen.
So are you putting the attendants in the cages?
Oh, if they go in there, yes. If they don't go in there, no. What I did find out I can do. Okay, so I can take an old, and I don't have one here.
You got a JZBZ cup?
Yes, the bottom of the JZBZ has a little, one little piece of plastic that you can break out, and it's big enough for worker bees to go in, but too small for the queen to come out, like a queen excluder.
Oh, you're talking about the three little bars in the back end?
Yeah, so you
that's they call that the friend of mine here at the club, he talked about that. That is supposed to be the introduction thing.
So, yeah, it's like
now maybe you can help me out because I get tired of getting stung.
So what I do,
I mean, I've gotten to the point where you're going down there and you're going beep beep. You grab them by their wings and you grab. I asked them boys down in Georgia, said, "How do you pick these bees up and get them to go in there so darn easy?"
So what I do is I cheat. Is I go to that bottom of that JZBZ. It's got the one bar across there.
Yeah.
And I'll pop that out. Right? And I'll set the queen back in there. Worker bees will come in to take care of her. It's her colony, right? They're going to come in and take care of her.
Yeah.
And then when someone's coming, I take that cage and put my finger over it and take a little tiny piece of painter's tape and put it on the end over the top of it. And good as gold. Hand it to them. And as long as the painter tape stays on there, the workers are stuck inside. So that's how I was doing it.
Yeah. Now there's one thing. I mean, are you picking up queens with your fingers now?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I've even marked some. It's not on camera, but I did mark some. And
I mean, as long as I've been into it, I have not felt comfortable with that a lot of times.
Well, I can't do it with the gloves on. I have.
No. You don't want to do that.
But now, yeah, I'm just grabbing.
Yeah, Granny. I do the same thing. I wait till they kind of look to get their heads down in there, and I try to grab them that way.
It does take me a second because I'm grabbing her left-handed, which is my offhand, right? So I'm grabbing her, but sometimes she's not always facing the correct direction for me, so it takes me a minute, but I do get her, and
Well, the best thing I did was I went up to this one guy's. He was selling out a bunch of stuff, and he happened to have a queen muff for $5, and it was like in pristine condition. I said, "I'll take that." And like I had this one queen I wanted to mark, and I grabbed her with a queen clip, and she was kind of a, what would you say, one that she wasn't an old girl where she's slow. This was one that likes to move around
real fast.
Yeah, real fast. When I'm like, all right, I'm inside this. I got the queen clip in there, and I got my marking cage in there. One of them guillotine jobs,
Right? Yeah, I don't use that thing anymore. I'd rather
raise it up, and I'm trying to get her to kind of walk up in there. And darn, she didn't fly out. Which, of course, I have used this thing, and I'm gonna say there's been about 4 or 5 of them that got away from me. And last year, one got away. There's $35 right out the door. And she's in there, scrambling around. I got her to where she walked right into the cage, and then I closed her up and marked her and all that stuff. But I mean, that muff is the way to go.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's what my mentor was saying too. That queen muff is a nice little.
It's worth it. I think it's brand new. It's $20, but I happen to get it for $5.
And the using, I mean, I in a 2-framer, do I really need to mark the queen? Probably not. She's not that hard to find in a 2-framer. She's really not that hard to find in a 5-framer.
Well, you get the person that wants to buy, and can you mark it for me?
Right.
That kind of thing, and I'll do it. Now I put that one I put in that big 10 frame, I wasn't sure how well they're going to accept her.
Just tell them.
I went ahead and marked her.
Just tell them, well, if she accidentally gets squished or dies or they don't like the mark and whatever, you're still buying this queen. I'll mark it, but yeah.
No, I'm talking about the one I just put in. I marked her just to make sure I could find her if she, accepts. And stuff.
Larry says, I get in the truck and release the attendants.
Yeah. But
there's only some queens I've been in colonies that I haven't seen the queen in months, but she's there because I always see eggs. I always see larvae,
You get them. I got some queens that are those dark girls who are kind of dark, and some of them are tiger striped, and you can't find them for nothing unless they're marked. And then I had those 4 hives, those 4 honey hives go down on me this year. The queens did. And it happened, I didn't say this on the video, but you know what? I went through them 10 hives and I marked them. And 4 of them went down on me. So I think I've had that years and years ago. And that was when I was starting out. And I asked the older guy, I said, what do you think? He said, well, you put the mark on her and she smells different.
No, I've never clipped her.
No, I've never done any of that.
Andy says he clips and marks all his queen. What do you use, like a fingernail clipper to clip the wing?
No, there's a special tool for that.
Little scissors?
Yeah. I've never done any of that. But anyway, well, it's about midnight, so I don't have to work tomorrow, but I got some honey to pour and do some other things tomorrow afternoon. So
I got you. I might, if it's not raining in the morning, I might start going through some of these colonies. I need to. It's not really. I mean, it's raining, so one of 2 things will happen. It'll stop raining in the first nice morning. I'll get a crap ton of swarms.
Yeah.
Happening, or
that's what I did. I was going through my nukes, and from I'll say 90% of them, there wasn't, they didn't need any, other than being fed. As far as population, they were fine. And I had one there that had, it was 5 over 5, I think, or maybe it was even bigger than that. But anyway, I pulled out a brood frame, because there were several other brood frames that were capped.
Right.
And I pulled out the oldest one that I could find. And I had, of course, made sure I found the queen so I didn't transfer her. And I had it was one of the last videos where I took a 2-framer and converted it to a 5-framer. And it had 2 frames of brood in there. And it was chugging along pretty good. I said, well, I'll just drop this frame. That way I can reduce the population in this hive over here, but I can boost her up and get her up and running quicker.
Right.
And that kind of stuff. And then the 10 framers I haven't fooled with, I know where they're at per se. I got one there that I put a cell in. I don't know whether they're up and running or not. There's one, I know I've checked a couple of them, they are, and one of them didn't make it, so I dropped the queen in there. So hopefully
I am 73 subscribers away from giving away a wax melter. So that'll be interesting. I'll just have it shipped directly from Better Bee to said winner's house. So 73. That'll be
well, I'm up to my subs right now. I think I'm up to 341, something like that, which is nice and all.
Well, when you get to 500, then you get the community tab. And that'll allow you to share people's videos and allow you to make little posts on your YouTube. So you can say, hey, what would you guys feel about a video on this? Or what do you think I should do my next video on? Or whatever. You
mean as far as who's in your
yeah, so like you'll see post on like the stream team where they'll say, hey, this Wednesday we're going live from this person's channel or that person's channel, or
that's an advertisement or something.
Yeah, but you get that option opened up to you
at 500.
At 500, yep. So that
I don't know what it's going to make of it, but I got a guy that was here at the mill, and he's a computer guru kind of AV, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And he knows about all this YouTube stuff and how to promote, try to get your subscribers up and stuff, I mean, I do drop a lot of this stuff on my bee clubs in my area, which has helped, and that kind of stuff. So, he said he's going to be able to maybe try to help me promote myself more.
Hey,
I thought about this live chat type of thing. I don't know whether I could. Well, the one thing I've viewed is like you're saying about with Lee. Lee's kind of like the engineer behind the scenes with all those fancy
he's got all the
things, which I'm sure it makes it easier for him to do those switches and whatever. But it seems like to me it does. Trying to do it all yourself is pretty tough. And then like tonight, where you're all by yourself talking to a bunch of scrollers on the scroll thing, that's tough too.
There's no way this video would have been this long. It would have not been this long at all. So, but it's it is what it is. It would have been much shorter. I mean, a lot of times I like to sit outside in the chair, but my light in the yard is messing up out by my chair, and is what it is, and it's rainy, so can't really do that. But yeah, I enjoy the lives because interacting with people, you don't get to do that necessarily all the time. So that's a benefit. You and I have talked on the phone and stuff like that, which is fun, but we can do it here too, and people can see it. So, and they can join in if they choose to.
Well, I enjoy the YouTube and with my channel, and I enjoy the people that are my subscribers and the folks here, and I'm looking really forward to see everybody down at Hive Life if they're coming to that convention. I'm curious. I mean, Cayman mentioned he had over 400 tickets sold it wasn't even the first full week and that was on the 14th of June.
Well, if they haven't subscribed to you, I'm going to drop your link here. So go by and subscribe to Sawmill Charlie's Bee Farm channel.
Yeah, I do a lot of how-to type stuff, or at least I try to. Or what I do, how I do it. Sometimes it's like Mike Barry says, it's not a how-to, it's a how I do.
Right.
And this past video was about honey, how I was, pulling honey off the supers, and I use the basic same things that most everybody uses.
Using a fume board?
I use a fume board, and my son actually had a small Milwaukee electric leaf blower.
Right. I've got a battery powered one.
Yeah, it's a battery powered one. I always use the gas one, but I got a couple of them here and I can't get them to start. He happened to have that. It worked fine. And I use the fume board, give it on there about 2 or 3 minutes, and 95% of the bees.
Do you saturate it really heavily, the fume board?
Yeah, I actually was using butyric acid, that honey robber, which stinks terrible.
Right.
And I had a empty bottle, squirt bottle from that other company that has a nice smelling stuff. Fisher.
Okay.
Fisher stuff. So I had poured the butyric acid and that just to use the squirt thing.
I got
and
you.
I go around the edge and make an X across the felt. And that's, maybe just lightly mist it across. Well, just basically cover the whole fume board. And that pretty much does it. You're good to go.
Now, I noticed they would push it.
You don't need it wet or anything like that.
My fume board would push them out of a medium pretty good. But on a deep, it would only push them down, and they would be on the bottom of the frame still. So I was like, well, maybe I just need to let it sit on there longer or something.
Possibly.
A lot of people are using those bee escapes, but then you got to put them in, and then you got to come back a few days later.
Now, too much work there for that. And then you got to I talked to some folks about that, and if it's warm, those bees are not going to go down into the hive to get warm because they're warm where they're at. So they're not going to go through, from what I've been told. So to me, I'm using medium. So yeah, the fume board put dry. There was one super that I have on the last video that it was completely free of bees. And then the other ones there might have been a dozen bees in the box, and I blew out. I've had it worse, where you could see the bees blowing out in front of the hive.
My problem is once I take the super off and set it off to the side, then I get a bunch of other bees.
Well, see, you got to watch my video there. I address that issue.
I'll check it out.
I'll tell you right now, what you do is you need extra telescoping covers.
Just top, stack them up.
You take the one cover and you turn it upside down. You put it on. I got a pickup, so you put it on the back of the pickup truck.
Right.
You pull that super off and you put it down in that telescoping cover and put the other one right on top of it as soon as you get done with it. And then you just keep stacking supers up and you keep putting the lid back on. But the one boy was helping me here a couple of years ago. I said, look, you make sure those boxes are on there perfectly square. There's no edge, they're not sitting off center to where there's an open spot for bees to go down into.
Right.
You got to stack them up and make the edges completely true and put that lid on top, and then the bees can't get in. Because I've had stories of folks here that were inexperienced, and they put the supers over here in a wheelbarrow because they only got a couple hives in the backyard. And when they turned around, they didn't have any honey because it was all robbed out. It was gone. And you create that robbing frenzy. That's you don't want no parts of that.
Right.
And then I had 10 supers. I did, I stacked 5 and 5, and I had 4 lids, and they could smell the honey, and the robbers were on the side of the box. How can we get in here and get this honey? So that's when I said, okay, it's time to take it the boxes around to the house and put them inside the house.
Right.
And that's what, where I extract my honey. And I'll have an extraction video coming up this coming Friday. It's nothing fancy about it. It's just the only thing that I do is I use a Maxan honey plane. And I bought it, came with an extractor from that guy that was getting out of it, and it cuts. I mean, I've never really used a hot knife, and usually when I've seen them use a hot knife, they really cut a lot of wax. No, not that piece of junk. I had one of them. It didn't last 5 minutes, and the darn rivets or whatever it was, or the spot weld broke. I threw it dumb thing in the trash. And a hot knife, you'll cut an 1/8 of an inch of wax off.
Right.
And this honey plane, you can set the knife on it at a depth. I think it's pretty much set from the factory. It's from Maxant.
Right.
And it'll cut paper thin cappings off. It'll cut the cappings off, and it might be a heavy 1/16 of an inch.
Kind of like what Lee and I have with the heated, the slide, right?
Slider, that V thing, yeah. I mean, it'll come off there about the thickness of like tissue paper. About that, about like toilet paper, about the thickness of that. I mean, it's
thin. I
call thin, and I don't know if I can show. Let's see. Here's a ruler here, but here's the super that's long. Most people take a knife and they cut up the super, right, or they cut down. Either way, right. And I don't. And what I do, I go across the super,
right,
and I go across. Maybe 4 times, 5 times, and if you have a super that's, I put 9 frame out this year, and, they didn't really draw that wax out like everybody talks about. And they draw it out some, but not like I thought they would do. Not like where it's like a 1/4 inch past the frame or anything like that. And anyway, with that plane, you can run across there. And let's say you got a divot in there where it's non-even. It's not flat.
Right.
You can get that plate in there. It'll cut that low spot and go right across. And you can get good at it to where up on the top edge, maybe right in the corner there, and need a little bit of uncapping done. Instead of using your scratcher, you just turn that thing to where you're using just the corner edge of that little knife in there, and you can run it across there like that and pull that wax right off. Now, I do use a scratcher some. And you gotta, it's never 100% good, but most of the time it is.
Right.
Like I say, I got all that on my video. That's going to be coming out this Friday. I show about how to keep the darn bees out of your boxes after you blow them completely free of the bees on this past Friday video. So I guess I have to remember that there's other folks that, like you were saying, you had a problem about keeping the bees out. Well, I always thought that everybody knows, that just do it this way. And obviously, there's always a tip or a trick somewheres.
Yeah, the 8 frames and they pulled out fat cone.
Well, most people, using 10 frames, they'll pull out fat combs. I spaced them out this year. The first couple supers, which works well for my extractor because it's designed for 2 boxes at 9 frame boxes.
Right.
So, and that's where your 20 would be ideal for 10 framers. And, but they didn't quite do what I thought they were going to do.
All right, Charlie, well, it's almost midnight. Let's go ahead and
yeah, guys, we'll see y'all later. Let's see, what is this?
Sunday.
When's your next thing going to be? Tuesday?
Mm-hmm. Tuesday night.
All right, well, I'll see if I can't get on Tuesday. I mean, there's always a lot of folks, if I see a lot of folks, I just kind of let them, have their time on the show.
All right. Well, we appreciate
I don't want to try to compete with everybody. Just everybody
Gotcha.
like to talk and everything. They get too many people on here. So, all right, I'm leaving.
All right,
night, everyone. DC and all of you.
Good night,
Bye.
guys. Thanks for
Bye.
tuning in. Bye. And we'll see you on Tuesday night, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. We appreciate you. Good night. Have a happy 4th.